The search for a missing submarine that was headed to the site of the Titanic wreck at the bottom of the Atlantic.
On June 18, 2023, a submersible named Titan, operated by Oceangate, went missing in international waters off the coast of Newfoundland, Canada, in the North Atlantic Ocean. The purpose of the expedition was to allow tourists to view the wreckage of the RMS Titanic. There were 5 individuals on board, including Stockton Rush, the founder and CEO of Oceangate. In the aftermath of the loss of contact with the submersible, both the U.S. Coast Guard and Canada's Coast Guard launched a significant rescue effort, but unfortunately, it was unsuccessful. However, early on June 22nd, evidence of the Titan's wreckage started to surface, leading to the tragic realization that the submersible had imploded in the deep ocean, and there were no survivors. The accident was all over the news for days as the frantic search continued for the submersible and its occupants. The craft simply disappeared, and all the sonar tech and related developments in modern oceanography couldn't help locate the submarine, much less save the people who were on board. At some point, it became a race with time because those on the surface knew the oxygen supply down there was limited. And what complicated things even further was that the part of the ocean where both the Titanic and the Titan were was extremely deep. James Cameron, the director of the award-winning movie based on the unsinkable Titanic, had successfully filmed the wreckage before now. Except the difference this time was actual people went down as tourists. And here's why they shouldn't have. First, let's discuss some information about the company Oceangate Incorporated that operated the Titan submersible. It is a privately held U.S. company based in Everett, Washington. They specialize in providing advanced submersibles for the tourism industry, as well as research and exploration purposes. The company was established in 2009 by Stockton Rush and Guillermo Solon. Stockton Rush himself initially aspired to become an astronaut and obtained his commercial pilot license. However, due to his poor eyesight, he couldn't pursue a career as a military pilot. Instead, he relocated from San Francisco to Seattle and worked as a flight test engineer for the F-15 Eagle at McDonnell Douglas. After witnessing the launch of Spaceship One in 2004, he shifted his focus to underwater exploration, aspiring to be like Captain Kirk on the Enterprise. This personal connection to the Titanic tragedy is highlighted by the fact that Stockton Rush was married to Wendy Rush, a descendant of Isidore and Ida Strauss, who tragically perished in the sinking of the Titanic. So it almost felt like ghosts from the past had resurfaced to seal the fate of the man. It was during this same deep-sea expedition for tourism purposes that the tragic event unfolded while the wreckage of the Titanic was being explored. Remember, the RMS Titanic sank in the northern Atlantic in 1912, all those many years ago. But before delving into the specifics of this particular tragedy in more detail, it's important to understand the immense challenges associated with deep-sea exploration. While aviation and space exploration capture our awe due to their ability to break free from gravity and soar through the air, deep-sea crafts face even greater engineering obstacles. The key factor is pressure. We often overlook air pressure, since at sea level, it measures only 14.7 pounds per square inch. This pressure is the result of the column of air extending above us into outer space, with the molecules exerting a downward force. However, water is a denser fluid than air. For every 10 meters or 32.8 feet of descent, the pressure increases by 1 atmosphere, or, in other words, it quadruples. The Titanic rests on the ocean floor at a depth of approximately 12,500 feet. The two separated sections of the ship, the bow and the stern, are over 2,600 feet apart and surrounded by debris. So you can only begin to imagine the pressure exerted at that extremely great depth in the ocean. It trumps whatever fluid pressure astronauts or pilots may experience by a big margin. However, mastering the parameters of nature couldn't have saved the sub or its occupants. It turns out the problems were also a lot more technical and administrative, and these are the factors that plagued Oceangate from the beginning. Firstly, the design limitations of the Titan required the hatch to be bolted shut from the outside using 17 to 18 bolts. This means that passengers inside the submersible had no way to open the hatch themselves and would have to rely on ground crews to do so. In hindsight, this is understandable considering the extreme conditions of deep-sea vessels and the necessity for robust water seals. But what that ultimately means to the layman is that you're essentially riding in a coffin, and if things go south, you're screwed, and that is exactly what happened. Moreover, this all goes to show the importance of having backup systems in place. For instance, having an explosive detonation cord that can be pulled to blow open the hatch would be crucial in the event that the craft resurfaces but remains undiscovered. Early concerns included the possibility of the vessel surfacing somewhere in the Atlantic and the passengers suffocating due to being unable to open the hatch and depleting the air supply. All things considered, one can even deduce that it was probably not worth it in the end, and these so-called Titanic enthusiasts would have simply made do with James Cameron's vision or Celine Dion's score anytime they felt a certain type of way about the sunken ship and its eerie incarnation down below. But can you believe the submersible also lacked GPS and other navigational instruments on board, as well as a locator beacon like the black box on aircraft? Small wonder it couldn't simply be found. But before we unravel the reason for the missing GPS, can you find a red button and click on it? Because then you can find our channel again. So most submarines rely on GPS for navigation near the surface, but this is ineffective in deeper waters. In deep waters, they utilize dead reckoning, which mostly involves navigating using the sub-senses and sensors. All we're saying is that the Titan didn't even have these advanced navigational capabilities and relied solely on data provided by surface support. The more reason to not have attempted the adventure. It is mentioned that Boeing collaborated with Oceangate and the University of Washington on the initial design analysis. An important aspect of the Titan's design is its construction using carbon fiber and titanium. The use of carbon fiber is considered exotic in the world of materials, as traditional materials like high-strength steel and aluminum have been extensively studied and analyzed for failure modes and testing methodologies. Carbon fiber, on the other hand, is still relatively new and less understood in terms of its operational lifetime and behavior. However, it is unclear if the operational lifetime of the Titan was established or if non-destructive testing, NDT, was conducted to monitor the carbon fiber's condition. But it seems the designers of the Titan were willing to bet the whole farm on the material. During a human-piloted descent on December 10, 2018, Stockton Rush encountered unexpected buoyancy while descending past 10,000 feet. Sometimes these submersibles can be likened to balloons filled with air, making it challenging for them to dive. They utilize different methods to overcome this limitation. However, at around 10,000 feet, Rush lost contact for an hour. However, at the end of his dive, Rush was delighted to claim the distinction of being the second person to do so up to a depth of 13,000 feet, following James Cameron. And afterwards, all the concerns were ignored in the place of congratulatory messages. What makes this story significant is that we currently find ourselves at the forefront of a new era of exotic tourism and exploration. Whether it's space travel, moon missions, or deep-sea diving, there is a growing interest among wealthier individuals to seek out these unique experiences. Pakistani billionaire Shahzada Dawood and his 19-year-old son died in this incident. Stockton himself was a millionaire in his own right and was purportedly the pilot of the ill-fated submarine. As such, it is important to recognize the potential hazards and risks involved. Unlike commercial aviation, the domain of deep underwater exploration lacks the same level of regulatory oversight. Regarding the implosion of the submersible, it is worth noting that the event likely resulted in instant fatalities with minimal suffering. The immense pressure at such depths would cause individuals to be crushed, leaving little opportunity for prolonged suffering. So you could say their deaths were quick and painless. However, it is remarkable to consider that the vessel itself was an impressive feat of engineering, constructed with materials such as carbon fiber, composite structures, and titanium. This unique craft provided an opportunity for human beings to embark on endeavors that were previously impossible, such as viewing the Titanic. But it is also sad that it had to end in that way. So guys, what are your thoughts on this incident? Share it in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in our next video.